Our journey across the Wachau begins in Stein, a town district of Krems, one of the oldest cultivated landscapes in Austria. The harmonious and natural appearance of Stein is one of the most beautifully maintained areas in Austria, well laid out and pleasing to the eye. The sole Gateway into the Wachau is a unique region of the Danube between Krems-Stein and Melk. A total of 113 houses encapsulate this medieval city, built along the Steiner Road on the banks of the Danube. Today, the town's facades and entranceways are decorated in traditional style and complement the impressive Renaissance splendor of the buildings. The houses owe their unmistakable appearance to artist Martin Johann Schmidt, otherwise known as Krems-Schmidt, who lived here for almost 50 years. Various sacred monuments depict the victory of Catholicism over Protestantism, a struggle that lasted for 200 years. The St. Nicholas Parish Church dates back to the 15th century. It contains works by Krems-Schmidt and a Baroque spire designed by Jakob Prantar. On the steep rock wall beyond it is a second building, the Frauenberg Church. From here, there is a fascinating view across the rooftops of the city and the romantic Danube Valley. Even today, the fortified city of Stein is exited via the Kremse Gate that for centuries protected the townsfolk from unwelcome visitors. The nearby Krems can also be entered from the west through the Steiner Gate, the last remaining gate of the 4 original medieval city gates. Even the old coaching station has survived, although today it is a luxury hotel. Middle-class houses of various epochs flank the main street, whose cobblestones and street lanterns are full of old-world charm. A stroll through the narrow lanes of the old town is fascinating. Passing Italian-style city palaces and small squares that contain fountains and columns. Krems is like a medieval fairy tale city whose well-preserved graffiti on the facades of the houses recalls the atmosphere of bygone times. The Gothic Pierceton church is situated on the slopes of the narrow Danube Valley, and with its large interior and ample windows is a perfect setting for the religious ceremonies that take place here. The high altar, with its golden crown, was also created by Krems-Schmidt. And, built in 1658, the external walls depict the Way of the Cross, Krems, even today, is full of history. An important city set within a unique river landscape that for centuries was the only trading route between east and west. A little further on, and the river valley narrows and becomes even more beautiful. The blue-white church tower of Durnstein proudly welcomes those who visit the town. It is a landmark of the Wachau. This small medieval town nestles picturesquely along the rock walls above the Danube. It lives and breathes the history that made it world famous. Hordes of people jostle through the narrow lanes and steep steps that reach to the banks of the Danube. The Augustine Monastery dates back to 1440. It is one of Durnstein's treasures, and its Baroque design was the work of Jakob Rantar. But the castle that the Könrige built in the 12th century above Durnstein is even more famous. Richard Leeuwenhoek was once imprisoned here. Legend has it that his faithful companion, the minstrel Blondel, once searched for him throughout the whole of Europe, and upon hearing him performing one of his familiar songs, Leeuwenhoek finally found him in Krems. The steep river valley and its terraced vine gardens enjoy a temperate climate. In Roman times, vines were cultivated in this picturesque area due to the region's ideal growing conditions. Weißenkirchen has always been a wine-growing centre. The small village has a long and dramatic history. Its old houses and lanes look like the backdrop of a medieval film. The Tyson Hoffer Hof was named after its founder and dates back to the 15th century. Fortress walls surround the beautiful courtyard and arcades. Both interior rooms and courtyard contain much of the region's cultural heritage, such as ladies' golden hats and old wine presses. The village derived its name from the fortified church that was constructed of bright stone. 76 steps lead up to both the fortified complex and the church. In 1531, the town's inhabitants built this complex to protect them from invasion by the Turks. And it was successful. The village withstood each attack. On a rock barrier that stretches to the Danube, the mother church of the Wachau was built above an old Celtic place of sacrifice. The fortified St. Michael Church was the starting point of the Christianization of the Danube Valley and was first referred to in 987 AD. At this point, the Tal Wachau is particularly narrow. The Danube forces its way through a tectonic fissure in the granite block of the Bohemian Mass. From the 9th century to 1504, Spitz was a Bavarian enclave located on the Danube that was owned by the Niederaltaich Monastery and various counts. Wine growing brought it great prosperity. Around the 16th century Parish Church is an idyllic market square, flanked by the old houses of the vine growers. Even the smallest villages possessed large churches whose splendid interiors were in stark contrast to their external fortified appearance. The local elite were easily discernible from the masses. Spitz nestles picturesquely amidst surrounding vineyards and the steep rock walls of the legendary Tausendeimer mountain. Old walls and lanes indicate the long history of this village that is closely associated with wine growing. The beauty of the landscape is overwhelming. Color dominates the soft hollows between the rocky slopes that flank the Danube Valley. Shining green in the summer months and a spectacle of color that leads up to the wine harvest. A true spectacle of nature. The 700-year-old ruins of Augustine overlook the Danube Valley. This was once the domain of the robber knights of the Könringe. They placed chains across the Danube in order to waylay passing ships prior to plundering them. The fortress was built on a mountain summit 300 meters above the river. Thus, any approaching ships or enemies could be spotted well in advance. It was here that fierce power struggles for control of the traffic of ships on the Danube originated, and the brutality of the Könringe was unsurpassed. Today, it is only the myths and legends of the robber knights that recalls those colourful times, because the fortress has long since fallen into decay. But this place is still a good vantage point. Over the Danube in the direction of Melk and across stretches of the Dunkelsteiner forest. Schönbühl Castle dates back to the 12th century and is located on a 40-meter-high rock on the banks of the Danube. A sedate, private castle that was once a monastery. Following the age of chivalry, both cultural and religious life prospered in the Wachau. The pilgrimage destination of Maria Tafel is situated high above the Danube Valley, and it offers the most wonderful views. Down below is the romantic landscape of the Danube. On various hot summer days between 1659 and 1661, the local inhabitants saw some angels flying towards an oak tree, the branches of which contained an image of the Holy Virgin Mary. Around this tree, an early Baroque basilica was built, the dome of which was created by Jakob Prantar, its interior adorned with splendid golden decorations. A Pieta has since replaced the original miraculous image in the oak tree. The last stage of our journey through the Wachau leads to a cultural gem and a Baroque work of art. Melk. Situated on a steep rock above the Danube, both nature and architecture unite as one. A monastic rock, a remarkable Benedictine monastery. Where today the huge yellow monastery is reflected in the waters of the Danube, up until the end of the 11th century, once stood a simple castle of the Babenberger dynasty. It is not surprising that Umberto Eco's novel, The Name of the Rose, originated here, because Melk is one of the most imposing monasteries in the Christian Occident. The Romans also favoured the Danube Valley and thus built a stronghold here. This was followed by a fortress in the 10th century. Some centuries later, Benedictine monks built a monastery above the town with the same name. But in 1297, the complex was destroyed by fire and thus threatened the future of the monastery. However, a new building followed, the Monastery Palace of today. The townspeople took advantage of the spiritual and cultural life that had developed here and prospered from their close proximity to monastic life. Jakob Prantar built this gigantic Baroque bulwark of faith and with it created an icon of Occidental monastery culture. The entrance to the complex is situated to the east. Similar to the design of Spain's Escorial, a gate flanked by bastions leads into the front courtyards. It is rather like entering a fortress because the severe east facade is like a fortified wall, crowned by a replica of the Melk cross. Beyond the next gate is the huge Pralaten court, above which the large dome of the Monastery Church reigns supreme. In the center of the courtyard, there is a fountain from a former monastery, because the original Colomani fountain was gifted to the town. A narrow corridor leads into the southwestern corner of the courtyard, to the church and to the Emperor's stairway. This is the area of the monastery that was designated for use by the imperial family. The Emperor wing was used to accommodate the royal entourage. Today, several works of art are exhibited in the Emperor's rooms, such as the Melk cross and various religious works of the late Middle Ages. In further rooms, collections of precious religious works of art are exhibited according to various epochs, including mitresses and altar crosses. Next, the marble hall was used as a dining room and for celebrations, with frescoes and marble walls. As in most Benedictine monasteries, the library is one of the most important rooms. Until its renovation, it contained more than 100,000 books. The ceiling painting by Troger and the vast array of books on the shelves give the room a special ambience. Paul Troger's fresco is in stark contrast to the painting in the marble hall. Here, the royal family is glorified and symbolizes a deep demonstration of faith. An old globe, valuable text that dates back to the Middle Ages, as well as fragments of a copy of the Nibelungen song, are among the many treasures of this historic collection. A cleverly constructed spiral staircase leads down into the Monastery Church, the center of the monastery. Holy Benedict ordered that nothing should interfere with the religious service. The Monastery Church of Melk does full justice to the wishes of the founder of this monastic order. The fine architecture of the interior is unique. Harmonious shades of color exploit each shaft of light. The tall dome features a vision of the heavens with God, Jesus, and the Holy Ghost. But the Baroque high altar with its marble, gilded wood, and stucco is a most striking feature. The Monastery Park and its rose garden was created in 1750 and has since been used as a place of relaxation by the Benedictine monks. The Baroque garden pavilion is adorned with frescoes of exotic hunting scenes, a hint of liberal-mindedness. 36 kilometers of the Danube Valley with magnificent cities, castles and historic ruins, a Baroque monastery and an old vine-growing culture. The Wachau, a priceless gem situated alongside the far-stretching waters of the Danube.